Hey, Bad Christian here again, and today we're listening with the Bad Christian. It's October 14th of 2025, and we've got a lot to talk about today, folks. There's a lot going on in this world, and I think that we need to have a discussion about a few things. So I'm going to start with the most obvious, and that is, it is great to hear that Trump finally got something figured out to get the hostages home. This is wonderful, guys. This is absolutely wonderful. I love seeing this. It is a W. I am not a fan of Trump, but good is good, and I'm going to see it for what it is. It is good that those hostages have come home. Well, most of them. But I will say this. There's a big difference between a peace deal and a ceasefire. And the problem is you can't have the peace deal without the ceasefire. And we have yet to see what's going to happen out there. And you know, the IDF, they're like that friend who's always trouble. You know, you can't go out drinking with them or hang out with them too long because they'll find some way to get in a fight with you, or they'll fight you and then they'll want to hug you later. They're like that friend, guys. I mean, they cannot seem to keep their nose out of trouble. So we'll see what happens with all of that. I am really hesitant to say, that this is the greatest peace deal in 3,000 years. I think that's taking it far overboard. And I think it's giving credit to something that we haven't even seen actually happen yet. But what I will say, and like I did say, everybody, extremely proud and happy to hear that the hostages are coming home. That is a good thing. So it's a start. But, I mean, there's a lot that's going on when it comes to the peace deal that they're associating over there. I mean, basically what you got is Gaza's destroyed, everybody. There's nothing left of Gaza. Those people are coming back to rubble, which is not what Portland looks like, by the way. But anyway, there are, I think it's 20-point peace deal that they're working on, and point 9 of that peace deal is that it's appointed, they're technocrats to govern the political transitions of taking Hamas out of power and putting whoever they want. We used to call those banana republics, but I don't even know if this one's going to be a republic because they keep using technocrats for this, which is, technocracy is an issue. And like I've said before, folks, if you don't know what the technocracy is, and you don't know what a technate is, you should take the time to go look at that. Those things are forming around you, and they're going to change the future. That's for sure. We see AI coming in and a lot of those things, and that's all stuff that's going to play out. The idea that you got factories of robots that can build robots that build factories of robots. It's like once you reach that point, there's not really any reason to keep humanity around. You know, we don't really need workers or laborers at that point. I think the only ones who really would need to be here would be the elite at that point, right? Just people to tell the robots what to make. No reason for us little peons out here. But maybe I'm shot out. Maybe I'm shot out. I guess time will tell, won't it? But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot going on. Because remember, they were talking about Mario Gaza. They were talking about turning it into a resort. And now you've got Jared Kushner, who is the son-in-law of Trump, who's going to be right there in the middle of all that stuff. You got the Qataris paying off one of Trump's sons. I don't remember which one it is. I don't remember. But anyway, one of them is receiving quite a bit of real estate power from the Qataris, which would make sense why we got that crazy stuff going on in Idaho. But anyway, so let's just take a step back. Yes, I'm glad to see the hostages come home, but we still need to be very careful because the water that's being tread right now is extremely muddy when it comes to these topics. And there's a lot going on with billionaires and trillionaires having agreements behind closed doors that we don't know what those conversations are until those things begin to manifest. And if we're smart and we're wise, we'll just, instead of automatically taking a position to say, I support this scenario, maybe it would be wise to kind of step back and just see how this thing plays out. Speaking of muddy water, you know, it's been a lot going on with Portland, Oregon, and Chicago, and, you know, the Trump administration said that they wanted to use our American cities for training grounds for a new type of war to fight the domestic terrorists from within. That the military was sworn an oath to protect the American people from. And the problem is therein lies the muddy water. When there's supposed to be this major orchestration, this thing came out of nowhere. I didn't know this thing was going on. If you're somebody who knew that the No Kings protest was going to happen anytime before the last couple of weeks, please leave a comment in the comment section and let us know that this is an event that didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Because the problem that we have right now is we have an administration and we have a Department of War, as so named itself, that doesn't seem to understand the difference between a terrorist and an American citizen. And the fact that you're willing to call Antifa a terrorist and do all these exercises in American cities and demonstrate that, even though you've got governors and mayors and senators pushing back on these things, he's still doing them. And so that muddy water to say that protester standing out on the street is a terrorist, so I have a right to use military force against them, creates this toxic environment, or I guess I shouldn't say environment. It creates a toxicity that we need to be aware of. If you're somebody that plans on going out on Saturday and protesting for No King's Day, I encourage you to be very, very careful about what you're doing. You got like Speaker Mike Johnson. He's already saying these people are pro-Hamas. These people hate America. I mean, this type of verbiage is being used already in the legislative and executive branches within our government. So we need to be very, very, very careful about what we do here, guys, because the last thing I want to see is 1 million people turn out on the streets and actual true chaos actually break out. I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I don't want to see the current administration and the military used against the people based off of a muddy understanding of what things truly are. We all know that there is no leader of Antifa. We know that it's not an actual organization you can join. So therefore, that leaves this open category that it just kind of leaves this loophole for those on the right to say, these are all terrorists right here, regardless if they're people just standing in the streets in mascot outfits or if they're just standing out there with a sign or, you know. It's interesting because they show them out there and they go, oh, they got the gas masks on and all this. What you're throwing tear gas at them, so that they're showing up. And a lot of this footage that I'm seeing, I wonder how many, because you see a lot of I guess, journalists, other YouTubers, and news networks too, these journalists, they're in I wonder how many people among the mix of what you see when you see these little clips and these little sound bites on the TV, how many of the people out of the 2 or 3 dozen that are there are actually people that are there just to get a shot or get a soundbite? Because if you look around, everybody seems to have a camera, which is very interesting because we know that paid actors can be an issue for red flags to create scenarios that allow not only legislation, but at this point, militant action against one's own citizens. So let's just be very, very careful out there, people. In other news, new tariffs are taking place today. These are between the United States and China. So we can look forward to the cost of some things going up in the future. Some of the things that were raised, kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, upholstered furniture, and here's the big one, lumber. Now, in Trump's first 4 years, I live in western North Carolina, and I've been a tree man my whole life. I've got 20 years in the industry. And a big part of the industry here where I live is we used to sell the lumber. But when he set in the first 4 years, being the TPP was erased and there was a lot of tariffs that went on the lumber industry, has single-handedly basically destroyed the lumber industry in my local area, basically robbing me of an avenue in the career that I spent a lot of years working very, very, very hard to get good at. There is still a small industry here, but it's very, very little. I mean, we have major paper plants shut down, a lot of our sawmills shut down, and even the sawmills that are open, they just don't pay the contractors enough to, you have to be big at this point. It's hard to get started and get going. And if you're anybody who's in the tree industry in my local area, I'm sure you can attest to that. So these tariffs are not necessarily a good thing. This is more hard times to come, guys. And he says that he plans on getting the tariffs to 100% on China by November 1st. So that's extremely scary. They keep saying that inflation is going down, but if anybody's paying attention to their bill when they go to the grocery store, I'm sure that we don't have to go into that, because if you understand that receipt's just reading more and more, then you understand that. And if you don't, then if you refuse to see that, that's what it is. I'm not going to rail you for it, but now on top of the tariffs, there's China and Trump come up with this great idea, import fees to come. And the idea is that this is technically not a tariff. No, this is just an import fee. This just allows you to come in and bring the actual import in. So there we go. We've got some more to end up costing the American consumer at the end of the day. And just so everybody realizes, if you don't understand what a tariff is a discussion with another country about what you can charge your citizens extra in taxes, basically tax it, for their goods. Trump carried on, and his associates carried on and on about China's going to pay the debt. China doesn't pay that. It was put to you. It was put to you very misinformatively. It was very sly, very subtle, and very sneaky. And a lot of people really got on board because the idea was, well, somebody else could pay my debt. I'm for that 100%, which is also pretty subtle and sneaky. But the truth is that the import fees is just going to be another way to stack that on top of the tariffs. So they're finding ways to draw tax revenue. They're getting all this money flooding into the government. A lot of people say, well, that's good. And then I thought those same people a few years ago were for smaller government, right? Not bigger government. But what do I know? So another thing that's in the news that we need to talk about before we get out of here is that the Pentagon is asking for a pledge for press passes. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth set out that he wanted a pledge from all of the different press establishments that they can't report it if the department does not authorize it first. So, I mean, we're at the point where we're fully manipulating the narrative directly from the White House at this point. And this is, I hate using the word fascism because it gets thrown around and it gets thrown around and it gets thrown around. But, guys, man, does it get any more corrupt than this? Right or left, we should be looking at this going, whoa, whoa, whoa. And you know what? I've heard that even Fox News itself has considered saying no to the pledge, which would be a good thing. I hope that left and right both push back against that. And if you're somebody that supports this type of shift in, controlled information that comes from your government, I just want you to stop and say, okay, if the shoe was on the other foot and the Democrats were in charge and you're somebody that's on the right, would you want them having that kind of power over your media and the people that represent the opinions that you think matter? And if you would be okay with that, then go ahead and support it. But if your answer in your heart and you're being intellectually honest with yourself and the conversation that's at hand is no, then that's something that that you need to push back against. And if you're having discussions with your friends, you need to talk about these things. We just need to have honest conversation in America. That's what we lack. We lack the ability to sit back and say, what is sitting in front of us, and what do we really need to do to fix it? Because we're fed a narrative from both sides, and both sides have an agenda. You have a right leg and you have a left leg. And as regular people, the more steps that thing takes, the harder it gets for us to do what we do in society. And I'm not complaining, because the truth is that life in America, as of right now, is a lot better than a lot of places in the world. But at the same time, America is not greater than a lot of places in the world, in the essence that if you're somebody who values that Constitution, if you're somebody who values that rule of law, and you want those things to make sense and be applied with a common sense and a rationality, and according to some kind of measure, we have gone completely off the rails in the United States of America. And it's my hope that as we continue to go through these times and see these things manifest and unfold, that Americans will step back from their left or right-leaning politics, and that they'll just look at the thing as this is America. And if we're talking about Americans, we're talking about Americans. And if the shoe were on the other foot, I would be wearing that shoe on the other foot right now. I would be coming at you saying, hey, the Democrats shouldn't have a right to tell the press, if you're going to release something, then we need to go through it first. And not only that, but the quote from Pete Hegseth was, this is the exact quote, credentialed press no longer permitted to solicit criminal acts. And now we've just crossed another threshold. And this is what I'm talking about. We just keep hopping over these lines. We take muddy water, and then we forge this muddy water, and underneath that muddy water there's these lines, and we just keep crossing them quickly. When you begin to say that if somebody doesn't solicit the news in the way that you prefer, or the opinion or angle that you prefer to look at it from, as a criminal act, that is not good, folks. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had been standing in office and said that we are reaching an age where we only want to allow Democratic press in the press forums, and if you report anything that's we consider if we consider against our agenda, then we will consider that a criminal act, therefore allowing for prosecution. Criminal means prosecution. Now, we want to talk about weaponizing the DOJ, weaponizing the system. The system is being weaponized against itself. It's being weaponized against the American citizen and the taxpayer. So, y'all, if we step back and go, hey, what is the future end result of that? If it turns against itself at a political level, it turns against itself at a presidential level, it turns against itself at a civilian level, it turns against itself at an economic level, when do we stop and go, hey, this thing's not going to last? And if it's not going to last and we are making a transition into something else, what are we making a transition into, people? And I'm just going to leave you with that question. And I hope that everybody out there has a great day today. This has been Bad Christian. I love y'all. Come back and see.